What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in the sales industry, I've seen it, heard about it, lived through it, and now I'm here to bring it to you, my favorite people on the planet, the sales community, because here's what I know. This is literally the greatest industry on the planet. It gives us so many opportunities to create a lifestyle that makes us truly happy and successful, but it doesn't come without a lot of work, doesn't come without a lot of hustle, and it doesn't come without a lot of crazy stories. And today's guest is someone who I know has an absolutely amazing bundle of stories for us, and more than anything, he is a personal friend. He has helped me develop in my sales journey many, many years ago when we met. He showed me some things online that I had never heard about, never seen. And now together, we collectively have helped thousands of sales professionals go on to create massive success. And I'd like you to help me welcome my friend, Mr. Robb Quinn. What's up, brother?
What's up, y'all? I'm so hyped and humbled, bro, to be on this podcast talking to you because, you're obviously the real deal. And when you get 2 people that are the real deal in the same room, bro, the stories, the energy, just the inspiration, man. If you're a sales rep listening to this, you're going to be like, fuck, oh my God, it's so good. Yes, I've been there. I get that. And anyway, I'm just very excited for this, bro.
No, and I'm very excited because, again, we go back now a little over 5 years. When I first came into the world of online marketing and sales and kind of understanding what was going on, you were just getting your business up and running, had really got some wind in your sails and were crushing it. And I looked at you and went, this dude is killing it. I got to figure out what he's doing. And I'm just going to be honest, one of the greatest recommendations that you ever made, I actually I funnel hacked from another guy that we're friends with, and it was the book Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. You had told your little community, you're like, hey, go read this book. It's so good. And I was like, all right, I'm going to check it out. And I'm going to be honest, bro, that is where I have gained a ton of information and growth, is understanding that there are so many greats out there that we can learn from and grow with. You have been one of those greats for me, bro. So again, I cannot thank you enough for being here and taking time out of your busy day, running a multi-7-figure business to hang out and share some old stories. But let's get into it, bro. I need to know, what's your craziest sales story? And I know you got some for us today.
Dude, man, it's so hard to pick one. Most of the people here listening to this likely don't know me, right? But before going to the online space, I did 6 President's Clubs selling for 3 different billion-dollar corporate companies, door-to-door, B2C, and B2B. And so the stories that come along with earning your stripes in each of those different things, it's just a completely different ballgame, right? Between sales cycles, between avatar, between the type of hustle required. So, starting in the door, can we do one from each?
Let's go one from each. And I love that because some people in this, that are listening could be, maybe they're more business to business or business to consumer. So fucking give us one from each. And that's a great tactical piece of advice for wherever they're at.
Beautiful. Yeah. So in context wise, this is all by the time I was 26, getting those 6 President's Clubs. And if you guys aren't familiar with the term President's Club, it's basically top 1% within the company. You have to hit a certain type of accolade. And it's usually a pretty challenging accolade. Anyway, in the door-to-door space, I sold Kirby vacuums, which is, so a lot of people probably don't know what that is today, but that was a $3,000 super heavy metal vacuum that we sold door to door. They wouldn't sell it in the stores because who would buy a $3,000 vacuum consciously without being shown why they should, right? Why it makes sense.
Can I interrupt you for just 1 second to tell you that I failed?
Absolutely.
I tried to interview for a Kirby and I didn't get the job. They didn't think my sales acumen was good enough to sell Kirby vacuums, just to tell you that.
Really? Interesting. So that's a whole nother conversation too that we could probably have, because I ended up getting promoted to it was called a DPS, which is like the recruiters. And I ended up getting promoted to that space and got trained by a guy who was a top in our region, top recruiter. And which now, we do that, right? We recruit and staff and train sales reps. So it just kind of worked out that way. But he taught me a lot in that. Anyway, I won't go on a tangent with that. But yeah, the hiring process was so interesting. I can't believe they didn't pick you to do this. That's so ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, dude. So in the Kirby world, right, the way it worked is obviously the vacuums, this is one of the reasons I got out of selling it. I didn't believe it was very ethical, but the vacuum itself, we retailed at $3,000, right, door to door. But I found out top distributors, I bought enough in volume, it was a $200 like purchase, right? So very large margin. And we got paid very slim in comparison to what the owner took. I mean, I haven't seen an owner split like that, I think, ever. And I sell, we sell online staffing and information product. Unbelievable. Anyway, so we were able to do these trades, right? So we kind of like came up with our own trades. And if we dipped too much into discounting the machine, then it came out of our commissions, right? So that was kind of like the trade-off. So the question was always, as a sales professional, how can I push more units? Where is my bonus marker at? At what point am I willing to sacrifice commissions in order to hit that bonus to acquire the accolades along with the bonus, which if the bonus is big enough and you didn't sacrifice as many commissions, then the variance will still exceed if you had sold everything at full price and didn't hit the bonus, right? So as a sales rep, you have to have the strategy around knowing these numbers. And so I knew my numbers really well. I knew how many doors I had to knock to get in. I know how many demos I would close. So I just followed the process, and I knew how much I could discount. And if I could hit those numbers, I can still hit my bonus, still be number one, which I was. I found a way to do that. So I was able to create enough value to be able to get trade-ins. And so basically people would trade me really extravagant things in exchange for getting a discount on this machine, which might sound crazy to the listeners. But whenever you build enough value in something, dude, it's then the value's in the eyes of the beholder, right? And I know some people here have heard that saying in the past, but until you experience it to this extreme, like you can't really understand. So anyway, so there was this trade where she had this person, I knocked the door, this in-home bar set. It was a huge in-home bar, and she was looking to sell it for a few $1,000s. And basically the trade was, I would give this to you not for two. I'm going to tell another story, but anyway, that one was $2,000, and they gave me a few $1,000 in-home bar. So I took that in-home bar with me in exchange for this vacuum, which she still gave me $2,000 cash for, which I still made money on, right? So I think that was one of the crazier ones. But I think an even crazier story now I think about it in the door-to-door space, it was like 9 p.m. and we walk up to this house. My manager, this is still when I was quote unquote in training. And my manager goes to this house, and clearly he had been doing this a while because he saw something I didn't see. And he's like, hey man, go knock that door. It is 9 p.m. at night. And I'm like, dude, it's late, it's cold, and this is in December, right? So it's like in Kansas City, which is very cold. So I go to knock the door, and sure enough, they let me in. So I go get, the vacuum out of the trunk, because that's how it worked, unpackaged it. I get in the house to see it's all hardwood, right? So all hardwood floors. And I come back out, and I'm like, give me 1 second. I think I forgot something. Of course, I'm trying to just get out of the house. I go to tell the manager, I was like, dude, it's all hardwood. He's like, sell the machine. And I'm like, what? So anyway, I do everything I can to show all how the additional attachments for like the bed bug test. And anyone listening to this is like, oh yeah, dude, I remember the bed bug test if you had ever been pitched to Kirby or sold to Kirby. So I do the bed bug test. I do all the attachments on the pillows and the couch and the rugs. And long story short, I built so much rapport with the owners of the home as I'm doing this demo that they end up bringing me downstairs and are like, look, man, let's just go talk to see if we can work something out. I like the machine. Sure enough, they trade me 2 guns, which sounds ridiculous, but they trade in 2 guns, and they pay $1,500 cash for the machine. And I was like, I actually asked them when we got done with the transaction, like, why did you buy this? Like, for $1,500 cash and then do the trade it? And they said to me, because we liked you, and you are what we're buying, and we believe you have a great future in sales, and we just want to support your future in your career. I could not believe it. And that right there was my first huge eye-opener into truly anything is possible as a sales professional if you really want to get to know the person and build rapport and help people. I really did believe the Kirby vacuums were helping people for a lot of different reasons. And in the door-to-door space, that was probably my most fun story, was selling a $1,500 vacuum to somebody that had all hardwood floors. That was pretty dope. Going into the B2C space, dude, was selling. Do we keep going? Do we just like go on the rant?
I mean, I love. I'm going to interrupt that story. I'm going to cut for a second because there's something to be said there, and like this is going to end up being a longer episode. I already know. I can't kind of planned on it, to be honest. I know you got some great stories. But when you're thinking about that, right, if someone's out there and they're nervous to knock doors, this is a topic that's really come up a lot as I've talked to a lot of the business owners and entrepreneurs that have jumped into my community and kind of been working with. There's a lot of reluctance to call the damn leads. There's a lot of reluctance to like just go and do the thing that you know is going to make you the money that you're trying to make, to go and do the things that you want to do. And I love that there's that lesson of go and knock the door, have the conversation, trust the process. And when you just build rapport and trust the process, especially, and I know Kirby has a fantastic sales system, and this is why you have excelled and why you built a business excelling in this process, because you understand if you just trust the process, it will work. That's why there's a process. And I love that story because it just goes to say like, hey man, if you just do the thing, even if they don't always need it, if they decide they want it, they're going to buy it from you. And that's the whole point. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that story. Let's move into the next one. But I wanted to touch on that because it's so good.
That's a beautiful point, bro. And, I know you have other questions in this podcast, and there's things I want to touch on. We'll circle back down the road. But yeah, next story, man, in the B2C space. And B2C, let me be clear, there's a lot of things you can sell, right? Whether it's retail or whether it's, to the consumer, whatever. It's typically a lower ticket item. Mm-hmm. And I define lower ticket as like $2,000 or less. And so in this case, it was a gym membership for a company called Lifetime Fitness, which I sold like $100 to $300 gym membership month to month. So the story comes from there. I have so many fun stories from Lifetime, but I'm going to try to just pick a story. I'll pick two. I have two stories. I'll say two. So the first story at Lifetime was, it was the end of the month. And this is something which I'm going to touch on later with your other questions, but it was a mid-month closeout, which is very similar to closeout. So if any of you guys are selling something, you understand that you're pushed to close out your pipeline at the end of the month because you're trying to get a big end of month finish. You're trying to hit a goal, a bonus, a team record, like whatever it might be. We had that on the 15th and the 30th. And that's why I really learned how to create urgency around a fictional deadline. It's the 15th. We don't have enough in our pipeline. We got two other people working with me, and my pipeline is dry, which is very rare. Like I have great pipeline management, but I was out of leads, right? To call. When I say I was out of leads, let me be clear. I was not out of leads. There were tens of thousands of leads, right? The obstacle was, and this is where the strategy comes in as a sales pro, is I knew I had this much time left in the day. I knew that I had no more appointments scheduled to come in. I knew that the team didn't either. I also knew that I could go in and hustle my way to try to make up the difference of the team's efforts that they wouldn't put forth because they don't believe in this fictional deadline like I do. So I could not compensate for their amount. I cover the variance of their lack of effort with my obsessive dials. Like there's no way I could dial enough to be able to cover their difference of lack of effort and mine in order to cover the variance we need to end the month or 15th of the month. So I'm like, where is the volume at? There's always a way through the problem. Mm-hmm. So then I just recalled, I was like, oh man, I remember signing up because I was always first one in, last one out. So I remember this pizza manager came in at like 11 o'clock one night. It's a 24-hour gym. So it's like, of course I'm going to stay till midnight because why not? And so this manager comes in and he signs up, right? We hit it off. I always hit it off with everybody, build great relationships, very similar to you. Like you build amazing relationships. And then, so I'm thinking like, oh wait, I remember signing up the manager of this pizza shop. So I call him up. I'm like, bro, can I come in and present the opportunity for your staff to buy memberships at Lifetime Fitness? I mean, you love it. Why wouldn't they? It's going to increase their performance at work. They're going to be happier. Like who wouldn't be? It's Lifetime Fitness. Right. So anyways, like, yeah, man, you can come in. Like it's kind of busy, but I don't know when you'll be able to talk to him, but sure. I was like, all right. So here's the thing, strategy, right? I knew here are my options. I could stay at the club, hope for the amount of walk-ins it's impossible. We wouldn't get enough. I could make a bunch of dials, which I wouldn't be able to cover the difference, right, of dials I would need to make in order to get the needed conversions. So I was like, I got to put all my eggs in this basket. So I printed off a handful of blank contracts. I walked into the establishment and I stayed there until everybody got off their shift. And I still have the email of this, which I include in our VSLs and stuff for marketing, where the region like shouted me out for what I'm about to say. But I walked in there. I ended up signing up everyone, right? It was only like 5 or 6 people, but I still signed up all 5 or 6 people. while we were in there, and they give me a large pizza. So I come back to the club at the end of the day. It was like 5 or 6 signed memberships and a free pizza for the team. And a huge email went out to the region. They're like, dude, this is crazy. This is how you do it. And it's like, that was so fun and so electric. That was pretty sick. And I would say the last story in the B2C space was an overcoming of limiting beliefs. The way that happened was everybody just saw us as like entry-level sales reps. Nobody saw me. I was like 22 years old at the time. They just thought I was all hype and I didn't have like true professionalism to be able to back the hype because I was young and whatever. I was just a kid that sold vacuums and sells gym memberships, right? And so anyway,
that in a minute. Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
understand.
Right, dude. I know. Oh my God, I could go on forever with that. When we look at this, I said to myself, I was like, okay, so what's the easiest way for me to show everyone else what they do actually is not that difficult and they should be thankful to be working alongside us, right? I needed to create humility. And of course, my ego was so big, I thought my huge ego could help create humility, which doesn't even make sense when you say it out loud. So I end up taking on, I was like, all right, I'm going to lead in retention. I'm going to lead in acquisition. So we had a separate retention team. They were called DOD. And they were meant to like do saves and save memberships or put memberships on hold and like basically stop cancellations. So I was like, here's what I'm going to do. Don't give me all the leads for acquisition. You guys take those. I'm going to lead in acquisition in the region. Give me all the customer complaints. I'm going to lead in retention. I'm going to flip those into new memberships. That's going to be my traffic. And then I'm also going to do our corporate sales reps job. And I'm going to sell the biggest corporate account we've had in this region. I did. And of course, I put those in our VSLs too. So I was the first person to ever lead in acquisition and retention in the same month. And I was the first person ever as a sales rep to sell a 500-person corporate account in one day. And again, for you guys listening to this, they're like, oh, there's no way. Like you just talk like, that's why I included in my VSLs. I still have the screenshots from 2014 because I knew one day I was going to make an impact. Like very few people have a skill at this level to where you just know in the moment, like I'm going to change the world. Right. So, and I just knew I would. That was just crazy, dude, to be able to do those things in a month. That was my B2C story. B2B, I only have one that I really feel like is worth sharing. But okay, do you want to touch on anything in that? I know you said.
I mean,
all right, this is the last part.
I do. No, I'm going to hold on. I got to touch on this for a second because this is something that
do it.
I have some personal experience and it's important for the listener to understand. If you hear this and you got some swagger and you're one of those dudes that knows like, fuck, I got the hustle muscle. I will go and put up numbers. If the team needs it, if the boss calls, like I'm the dude. I love that. I respect it. I've been that dude for a long time, Rob. I know you're that dude. There's something to be said about being that individual who gets shit done.
Dude.
One of the things that I've learned is that it is that confidence that allows you to close at the level that you close. And also, every single successful big-time player that I've ever met has come to me and been like, man, I don't know if I belong in this room or not. It is the wildest shit. But it's so true that no matter where you are, like it is okay to have that swagger and that confidence. And it's okay to recognize that there's still more to learn. That's how you continue to grow. That's the mindset that Rob's talking about, that in 2014, he had the hustle, he had the ego, and he still recognized that there was more for him to learn, and he wanted to categorize and save that moment as a benchmark for the future. And we won't go into Rob's fitness history. He's a handsome son of a gun with a great-looking mustache, and he's probably got a six-pack under that freaking Fabio shirt.
No, don't make me take it off, dude.
No, not on this show. That's a different show. That's for the after hours crew. But it's the discipline. It's the continuous focus on growth. And if you're watching the video, you can see he's got books on books on books behind him because the guy's always learning. He's always focused. And it's that continuous discipline that gives him the confidence to be able to say, hey, give me take the leads and give them to those guys. Give me the people that want to quit. Because I know that that's the best opportunity to turn something into a win. Because if they have a struggle, that's an opportunity for me to solve a problem. And everybody in sales is a problem solver. And when you really focus on that mindset, like Rob was just talking about, absolute game changer. So thank you. I just want to share on that because it's like that's an important part to me. That confidence and that swagger is big, and recognition that you can keep growing and get better. That's what makes a difference between like a 1%er and the rest of the world.
Facts, bro. That context is gold because that is the truth between everything. And it's also like understanding that we have to live in reality, but at the same time, like you can't as a sales rep. As like a true sales professional, like the impossible is the only thing that can exist. And like you said, the swagger, no, you can do anything. I remember them calling me. They're all at a Royals game. I'm the only person working. We needed 10 units sold. And they were like, dude, we need 10 units sold. I was like, 10 units? I'm the only person working. I don't have 10 accounts to sell today. And they're like, no, we didn't ask what you had. We said we need it done. And it's that type of mentality to understand that, like, and that's how they, I want to say, treated me. But like, I enjoyed it because it really pushed me past a limiting belief of like, oh man, my bad. I was only thinking about what's possible. I didn't even consider what's impossible and how I could actually turn that into reality. And so, those were big eye openers for sure. And yeah, the game of sales is just conversations. Like, why wouldn't you want customer complaints? They're saving you time from having to call somebody. If you're bitching about calling somebody, take the customer complaints. They're coming to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they saved you the time for picking up the phone. Like, so anyway, that's just how I saw it. I was like, dude, they're just saving me time. But anyway, and then the B2B one, then we'll go into your next questions because, bro, you have the best questions ever for a podcast, seeing these prior to the podcast. But
thank you.
The B2B space, man, this was humbling experience for me. And that's why I wanted to end with this one. This was before I ended up going into selling stuff online, which actually happened by accident. Maybe we'll talk about that. But in the B2B space, I went to go sell digital marketing for a company called the Yellow Pages. And if you're listening to this, you may not even know what the Yellow Pages are. If you're, earlier than a boomer or a millennial, I don't know. You may not know, but they were a big deal at one point. They got bought out by Dex, which turned into Thrive. And like Joe Walsh is a freaking brilliant mind who did that, but I'm not going to get to that. So at the Yellow Pages, it was a very humbling experience. I actually went in there with all this past experience, right? Like you mentioned, the fitness stuff. I was nominated best personal trainer in the Northland at 19, went pro, went to Worlds, like all this stuff. And then had the success in sales up to this point. At this point now, I am 24. And going into the Yellow Pages, sell B2B, youngest guy on the team by a handful of years. And I make my first sale in the first 2 weeks, 12 grand. Woo, everyone's excited, but I didn't know how I did it. Problem with that was that I didn't make another sale for 5 months. And so now I'm on the chopping block. First time in my entire life, I'm on the chopping block for a sales job. And like it got in my head a little bit, and I'm sure we've all been there, right? It's like, am I not good? Are the leads not good? Is the offer not good? Is management not good? Am I not good? Am I not good? You keep saying that to yourself, like, maybe I'm not good. Like, I must not be good. And so then one day I just like woke the fuck up when they put me on a PIP, which if you're not familiar with that term, listening to this, like it's a performance improvement plan, or if you don't, it's basically you're getting fired is what it is. And it's the courtesy of saying like, you better start looking for another job. And, but then there's the few where they see it as a challenge. And of course I saw it as a challenge because I'm not a loser. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I went in and I was like, okay, if I'm going out swinging, right? So like, I'm going to call the biggest because the Yellow Pages was known for local business, right? In the phone book, they hired me to sell digital marketing. And of course, because of the stigma of local business, it was sell digital marketing to local business. So I was like, you know what? It's time for me to do something a little different. And so I started calling the biggest companies I could find within the area. And that was AMC Theaters, Pepsi, Coke, Kohl's Warehouse, and YRC Freight. YRC Freight was a trucking company. They're one of 12 Fortune 500 trucking companies in America. They just happen to be in Kansas City. And so I call them up. I call all these places up, get through all of them. But I couldn't get past like setting the appointment because some people didn't. Anyway, I'm not going to get to that. But long story short, I ended up setting the appointment with YRC. End up getting into that company, got all through the red tape with cold call, and actually post these on YouTube. And cold calling businesses, getting through red tape with freight companies and stuff. But anyway, so I get in there. Long story short, I closed the deal for $108,000 in a 4-week sales cycle. I happened to catch them at the end of their fiscal where they have to like spend a certain amount of money. If you're not familiar with the fiscal cycle, every industry is different. So I was able to go in there and just close the deal for $108,000 contract. It was like, I think it was $18,000 a month for like 6 months or something like that. And so that put me at the top of the podium, right, of the region. And then I hit President's Club on one deal. That just showed me, I was like, okay, I am good. I was talking to the wrong people. And so that's when everything changed. And I started selling to certain industries over the phone. I stopped meeting in person. And that was new for the Yellow Pages, right? People didn't sell virtually 5-figure deals over the phone. And then I started moving into other people's territories, finding leads they couldn't find because I knew what industries I wanted to hit. I could use the same presentation to every single deal. And I kept closing deals in other people's industries. And they threatened to take my commission because I was moving into people's territories. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know the leads exist. They're like, yeah, but it's my territory. I get 50% of the commission. And that's when I left. And that's when I launched the sales agency, 2017.
And you have absolutely dominated the space with the sales agency. As I said earlier, I remember, I'm just going to be honest, I bootlegged a copy from a friend of mine who had paid a lot of money to be a part of your course because I couldn't afford it at the time. So I was watching his shit secondhand, like, I'm going to just be honest with you, Rob. But I did come and buy from you eventually. We did work together. Like, so in all fairness, we spent a lot of time and money together. And more than anything, man, we had a lot of fun watching and growing because I remember seeing you do those cold calls. I remember, early on where you were training people and getting on, and literally I'll never forget being in Kansas City, sitting out on the back of the deck of this like huge mansion mastermind that you had thrown. And we were all like sitting there cold calling random businesses, trying to sell digital marketing and SEO and shit, just like for fun.
Oh my God, were we?
Yeah,
dude, that sounds like something I would do. That's hilarious.
We were just like, hey, let's go live and just fucking make cold calls to random businesses and try to sell them digital marketing. And I don't know if we sold anything, but you know how when you're young and you're like, watch, I'm gonna go check me shit. That was fun. Such a good time, and it's been so fun. What I love about sales, though, is that I've been able to watch as you've crafted and built a business that allows you to live a life that you truly get joy and fulfillment from. Because, let's be honest, man, we know how to make money. And anyone listening to this that's in sales knows how to make money. You call the damn leads, you have the conversations, you secure the bag, you get paid. It's kind of simple. The difference, though, is when I've done it a couple times at work. A few $1 million, no big deal. But the point, though, is that you recognize the ability to do things that bring you passion. And when you have that passion, as you said, you deliver it in a way that nobody else can. It's like, hey, my presentation for this industry is the best in the business. There ain't nobody that knows it like I do. There ain't nobody that can present it like I can. And there's no one that gives a shit the way that I give a shit about you getting the result that I'm here promising you.
Yes.
You're an expert at that. That's one of the things that I love about you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Dan, that was a fun event, dude. I forgot about all that. But yeah, dude, that's a fact. And just to touch on that, as a professional, people believe that you need to believe in what you're selling in order to sell a lot of it. And in my opinion, that's when you're going through that dummy curve where you're in the middle, right? Where the top of it's where you're excited, you're in sales, you'll do whatever, say whatever. Then the dummy curve is where you believe you need to believe in it. But professionals can channel that, right? And that's where ethics come into play. Ethics really, in my opinion, only come into play at the other end of the dummy curve because you have full understanding. And that's when you have to choose to use this superpower correctly. But when you truly can channel belief, where it's like, dude, I believe it because I'm supposed to. And it's my job not to think, but to do. And so I'm going to leverage my skill and go to war. And, to your point, I would say that's the other end of the professional scale.
I love that. There's Ryan, one of my mentors from Apex, he always said there's a fish hook. You come in, you kind of get that beginner's luck, and you swing up, and then you slide down into the fish hook into this fucking pit, and you're like, fuck, I don't know what's going on. You kind of decide, you're going to try to bounce back this way and try to get beginner's luck again. No, that didn't work. You got to just push through all the way up to the next side where you just literally go to the top. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned something, a superpower, and that's one of the questions I always love to, talk about. When it comes to sales, there's a million different sales trainers. We could all pick one guru. We could literally throw a dart and hit somebody that's an expert in sales. The difference, though, is everyone's style of sales. What works for me may not work for the next person, may, work for them. And that's why I love that Steal Like an Artist recommendation. So if anyone's listening to this, go to Amazon right now, Steal Like an Artist, Austin Kleon, one of my favorite books and like super enlightening when it comes to sales and strategies. With that said, Rob, what would you say is one of your sales secret weapons? Like if you had to pick one thing in your arsenal of like a million tricks that I know you have from sales jujitsu, like what would you say is your secret weapon to sales?
Secret weapon. It's a great question. I mean, so I would say something that I could not do well in my early years was contextualize the things I currently am now able to teach and contextualize, just to have a deeper understanding of it. So I would say my superpower has always been this natural ability to be able to get people to better understand their own thought and then agree with them so they can take ownership of it as if they came in already knowing it, thus being more empowered, and me supporting them in this like greater version of themselves they just now found. Right. So it just makes people feel so good. And I'm over here like just arm over their shoulder saying like, you know what, dude, you're a smart guy. And I could never understand how to do that in the past. And now that I understand it, that's what makes it such a lethal like skill set. But I think that would probably be my superpower more so than anything. If I were to say something other than that, it would probably just be like resilience.
That's a great one to add on top of it. I think that's almost like a character trait more than a superpower, resilience. I mean, the ability to just show up day after day it's definitely a character trait. And that's something that can be developed. But what I love about, you know, what you said is to kind of circle back on something you mentioned earlier, ethics. It's like if you have the ability to persuade and to influence and to be able to literally get into rapport at that level to where someone's like, you're right, I should do this thing. It is very, very important to have that level of ethics because A, it's just the right thing to do. Like first and foremost, like being a good human is important. But when you get into that point where, and we've seen this in a lot of different sales industries, that there's the guys that will do whatever it takes to close the sale. They'll lie, cheat, steal, manipulate. It sets a bad tone for everyone, first of all. But that it also makes you feel less than because you're not willing to do that. And that's where it starts messing with you mentally. And you're like, well, the only way to be in the top 1% or the only way to be there is like to cheat. And that's not always the case. There are ways to ethically achieve that top status, to achieve the money, the income, whatever it is that you want. It's that understanding of how to build rapport and how to be ethical with it, because sometimes the best sales are the ones you don't make. It's the one where you're like, you know what, man? Go ahead.
And those people, man, that feel like they have to hard close like that, like lie, cheat, manipulate, those quote unquote hard, like closer, like cliche type sales reps only do that because they're not great at follow up. And so the people that have great follow up never have to worry about hard closing to like the sleazy style of the cliche, because they know how to follow up to be able to create additional like trust in the brand, to create FOMO, to create trust in the sales rep. Like they know how to control the consumption of information to be able to build that in somebody else. So they don't need to do the sleazy hard closing type of cliche.
That's so freaking true, man. And I appreciate you being able to kind of expand on that idea, because there's a lot of misconceptions in sales. You know, there's this like, oh, well, he just cares about making money. You know, he just wants to get this or get that. And that's true. There are a lot of sales professionals out there that only care about making money. And with certain intentionality, that can be fine. Like you can work really hard to make a lot of money because that money is the thing that you use to go and have more fun or to take your family on vacations. Like I understand that mentality. And yet when you're on the other side of it, and as a sales trainer, I think you'll probably recognize that like with all of the misconceptions, it can be tricky when you're training a new sales professional or trying to work with someone to help them like move past some of those. In your opinion, what would you say is the biggest misconception when it comes to sales or sales professionals?
You mean as in like how people view sales professionals?
Yeah, like kind of how they view us. Like what would you say is just something that's common but totally way off base? And it could be about the mustache.
Yeah, dude. Well, man, it's a great question because this is going to feel so like such a simple answer, but I feel like people are always like kind of on standoffish because they feel like we're only there to sell them something. When the reality is, like, if somebody were asking me that, I'd be like, I feel like you're only here to sell me something. I would say, first of all, we had had the chance to have a conversation for you to know that for sure. And secondly, obviously, right? So like in life, something has to be sold and bought, whether it's your pastor selling you on the religion and to get you to tithe, right? Or it happened to be like what you believe with your kids, right? Or it be like somebody needed to go do cancer treatment versus holistic treatment because, you know, we want to be able to save them. Like we got to sell somebody on that. Dude, even buyers for big real estate deals have to sell themselves to the broker because the broker's already got people lined up. So even buyers have to learn how to sell themselves to be able to buy good stuff. And it's like, so it doesn't really matter what it is. Like, you bet your ass I'm here to sell you something, because if you don't, your life's going to suck. Like, so that's why you're in the position you're in to begin with, right? So I'm here to help change the pattern. So hopefully I sold you on that belief, because if you don't buy into that, then you're going to stay stuck anyway, you know?
That's going to make a hell of a clip because it's so true, man. A little mic drop. I don't have that feature, but maybe I can get my editing team to add it in there. No, but it's sales and marketing is literally the thing that makes the world go round. You're selling yourself on doing the thing that you know you need to do. You're selling yourself on getting out of bed and going to work. You're selling yourself on calling the damn leads. You're marketing to other people to try to attract them so that they will be more interested in you, so that you have to do less of the thing that you don't want to do, so that you can do more of the thing that makes you happy. It can get real simple and easy. It's like sales and marketing. You're putting yourself out there so that you can get attention. And with that attention, you're trying to create some sort of transaction that benefits both parties. And when both parties win, you end up with a conversation like this, Rob, to be honest with you, man. This beautiful. Has been,
and it's a good
one of my favorite conversations that I've had of the, 20, almost 30 episodes that I've recorded at this point, man. And so I knew coming into this, we were going to have a ton of fun. I knew we were going to share some wisdom that even if only one person pays attention to this, they're going to be able to take this information like you and I have over the last 5 years. They're going to compress that time down to like the next 12 months, and they're literally going to change their life, bro. And that means the absolute world to me, that you would take some time out of your busy day to be here, to share this information, to share these stories, to share some love and some laughter, because we both know what an impact it's going to make on at least one person's life. I mean, I'm already impacted by it. I had a lot of fun. But if someone wants to know more about Robb Quinn, that fantastic mustache that you're rocking over there, the sales
now agency, I can never shave it off.
No, you have to keep
reference it too much. I can never shave it off.
Well, hey, this is branding. It's like why I tattooed Meme Lord across my knuckles, because I can't get rid of it. That's just me. I'm all in forever. So if they want to know more about you, the sales agency, maybe see some of these crazy screenshots that you were talking about in your stories, what's the best way for them to come and find you online?
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like if you want to get to know me, my personality, brand, style more than anything, I would start with YouTube, just my name, ROBB, and then QUINN, Robb Quinn. And then from there, Instagram is a great next stop, because I like to stay active on the stories. Okay. Of like just kind of what I'm feeling and thinking at the time, so you can kind of hear like my current state of mind. That would just be Robb Quinn 3. And yeah, man. And of course, Facebook, right? Just Robb Quinn. But man, yeah, I really, of course, you could also check out thesalesagency.com. That's always a great place to go. But yeah, I appreciate you saying everything you did, man. I just really wish that I knew as a young sales rep, right? Or even somebody developing as a sales pro, if you're still in your 30s, 40s, 50s selling, is that there's nothing wrong with you, right? The only thing that you need to focus on is like your current season of life and what you want out of the time spent in the vehicle you're in. Because the reality is, like, dude, you can invest the same amount of time selling real estate as you do selling a gym membership or personal training as you do selling high ticket products and services online for a remote company. And it's going to translate to more or less income. But if the gym makes you happy and that's your season of life, and then that's what you need to be doing. You know what I mean? If you're unhappy doing something else, so like, and if you have a bad streak, you close 0 out of 10 deals. I've been there too, found myself at the bar and, doing all the things that you do wrong as a sales rep because you're in your head. It's normal, man, to go through that learning curve and to be like, dude, do I just suck? No, man, you just got to keep committing to yourself because that will translate on sales calls. Your commitment to yourself will translate to somebody else and they will want to be more committed to themselves and then buy from you as a byproduct. So anyway, yeah, I appreciate you saying all that, dude, because I wish I knew this stuff as a young guy. Young guy in general, not just sales rep.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about sales is it like when you start understanding that sales is a catalyst and a facilitator for so much more than just making money. Oh, bro, it's like flip of a switch, life-changing. It's how you go from, making $30,000 a year to making multiple six figures a year or two later. Is just a decision that you're going to believe and you're going to have resilience. I want to bring that word up again. I want to circle back to that because you mentioned like, hey, sometimes you might go 10 days with no sales. Sometimes you might go 5 months with no sale, but you stow up every time. And then you get that $110,000 sale. You get that big whopper that comes in because you've been putting in the work and you've been showing the universe that you do care, that you have resilience and that you're not going to quit. And honestly, man, this, as I said, has been one of the best episodes that I've had. No shame to any of the other guests, but man, I knew coming in it was going to be great. I'm so grateful for you and for the time and for the energy. And I cannot wait to come back here maybe in another year and talk about all the crazy things that have happened in the compounding time that we have had together, which again, if you are here, I'm so grateful for you being here and checking this out. If you got some value, make sure you share this out on social media, put the episode out, tag at Call the Damn Leads, at Robb Quinn 3. If you liked what Robb had to say, go check out his channel. Again, I've personally learned a ton from this guy over the years, and I know you will benefit from his learnings as well. And if you got some crazy ass sales stories, and I'm sure you do, because if you're in here and you've listened to this point of the show, you're like, fuck yeah, I'm game. If you've got a crazy sales story, I want to invite you on the show. I want you to be a part of this with me. Go over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send me your information. We'll get connected. We'll schedule a time. We'll bring you on here because just like my homie Robb Quinn, this is the greatest industry ever, and it has amazing, amazing people. So, Robb, thank you, bro. I cannot say enough how much I appreciate you being here with me, bro.
Likewise, playa. Likewise.
We'll see you guys on the next one. Go call them damn leads.